Well, good morning everyone and welcome to the City Lifestyle Committee of the 22nd of July. I declare the meeting open at 9:52am. I'd like to advise meeting attendees that this meeting is being audio recorded. I'd like to begin today's session by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and paying my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I've received a leave of absence today from Councillor Russell due to her having shoulder reconstruction recently, and I believe that she's recovering at home, and no doubt she's tuned in as watching us this morning or listening to us this morning live. So Councillor Russell, if you're listening, we all wish you a speedy recovery. I move that motion to approve Councillor Russell's leave of absence. Can I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Hall. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, before we get underway with reports today, I'd like to speak briefly, if I may, to the 2020-2021 budget handed down earlier this week. And I'd just like to say a huge thank you to you all for investing $62.6 million in parks, $71.6 million in community infrastructure, $17.9 million in libraries and creative industries, and a further $17.3 million in city standards and animal care. As we all know, this has been a tough budget for our city, and I thank you for continuing to support the programs, services and facilities the community have told us they love, they value and they need. Right, let's get right underway with reports. I now refer to item 4.1, the Underwood Park Rugby League fencing project. And can I just acknowledge that unfortunately Nigel's unable to be with us today, so he's due to him being unwell. So we have a very capable stand-in in the form of Jason Chin, and Jason is our capital delivery coordinator. Before we open any discussions on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest they wish to declare? There now being none, I now refer to Jason to open the discussion and to produce his report. Thank you, Jason.
Hi. So the report is in relation to funding allocations of the installation of the perimeter fencing at Underwood Park for Rochdale Tigers Rugby League. I'll take the report as read.
Thank you, Jason. Do I have any comments or questions from councillors from the floor? Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is this your first committee, Jason?
Yes.
I'll be gentle, mate. It's all good. So I'm just curious. Thank you for bringing the report up. It was easy to read and it was very useful. My question is, do we normally support the fencing of rugby league fields at community facilities that council owns?
As long as the fields are accessible to the public, we will fence fields.
Thank you. You just made Councillor Lane very happy. We'll be requesting some fencing for our brothers' rugby league fields shortly, so get another report ready. Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? Being no further questions, can I have someone to move the motion? The motion's up on the board behind us. Thank you, Councillor Raven. I have a seconder with Councillor Fraser. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that motion has been unanimously supported. Thank you very much, Jason. It's been great having you here in committee. I hope that we weren't too challenging for you today. Councillors, you have a confidential report in front of you. It's a late report that's come up, and may I just ask Katie, who'll be speaking to that report today? Jason. Thank you, Jason. We got a bit excited there. My apologies. I'll keep going while Jason's here, if that's okay. Yeah, cool. So we're going to skip ahead in our agenda to item 6.1. Before we commence this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest that they wish to declare? No conflicts of interest. I note that item 6.1 has a confidential report. Do any councillors wish to move the meeting into closed session to discuss the contents of the confidential report? Thank you. Councillor Stamp has moved us into confidential. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lane. All those in favour of moving us into confidential, please raise your hand. That has been unanimously supported. This meeting is now closed to the public. Please be advised that the meeting is now in confidential session and therefore the recording of this meeting will be suspended until the meeting is reopened. Everyone, we now have a motion up on the screen. Can I have someone to move the motion? Councillor Raven, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Lane, all those in favour, please raise your hand. For the record, that's Councillor Lane, Councillor Raven, Councillor Fraser, Councillor Harrimeyer, Councillor Bannon, Councillor Stemp, Councillor Wilcox, Councillor Murphy and myself, Councillor Karansky. Could I have a show of hands for those who are opposed to the motion? I have Councillor Bradley. Do I have any others? And are there any councillors who are abstaining from the motion? I have the Mayor and I also have Councillor Hall. Thank you, councillors. That motion has in fact carried, as we've said. I'd like to thank Jason for presenting today. As I mentioned earlier, it was Jason's first visit to committee today, and thank you for sharing the benefit of your wisdom, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you for being kind.
Okay, moving forward, I'd now refer to item 5.1. Can the Customer Experience and Community Engagement Manager, Mr Matthew Johns, please enter the discussion? And while we wait for Matthew to make his way up, do we have any conflicts of interest that councillors wish to declare? There being none, I now refer to the Customer Experience and Community Engagement Manager to open discussion. Mr Johns, please deliver your report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, councillors. Hopefully this is a little bit of a change of pace to the last discussion. So I'm very pleased to be able to be here today to present to you the draft Customer Experience Strategy 2020 to 2024. If I can just have a few moments, probably not to repeat too much of the report of strategy, but just add a little bit of context, I suppose, to assist with the discussion and the product that we've put in front of you. So it is an exciting milestone. It is Council's first customer experience strategy. We have previously had a little while ago a customer service strategy that served us well, but the key difference to this piece of work, it really does start to look for the first time at Council's end-to-end service delivery, of which we're a large, diverse, complex service organisation. So that is one of the challenges of local government. It is also one of the great, I think, things about working in this particular sector and industry that we try and do so much, and we do that. How do we continually do that in a consistent, effective manner and an efficient manner? So that's principally kind of what we've tried to think about as a council and do. This strategy then, when we came together to start to process what we might need, it did try and do a couple of different things, and neither of those were easy. So hopefully this is again what we've tried to put in front of you, that we did want for the first time, which we didn't have, to produce a consistent framework that Council's 25 branches, over 70 service programs can have as a means to place across their particular business areas. We all do slightly different things, some interconnect and some, other than the customer being the common element, are very different service types amongst each other. So hence we went to include some principles, some focus areas that we would look at as an organisation, and also some stated outcomes that we can then all, obviously agree and work towards. It did then also want to, which again was quite difficult, show the interconnection of our many other strategies and plans that we have. We are a very mature service organisation. We have some fantastic, I suppose, processes and strategic aims around smart cities and innovation and access and inclusion and people plans for the employee experience. All of those things ultimately do contribute to an improved customer experience. We didn't want to replicate those. We wouldn't want to keep repeating what they were doing. We just wanted to convey how it all comes together, which is part of what we've tried to do, and absolutely then still identify the gaps. So what isn't some of those strategies doing that we still need to do? So that was again another aim. And finally, a piece of this work to do is still the annual action plan within that, and I can talk a bit more about why there were actions in a strategy, but for the first time too, that will give us a centralised view of what all of those areas are doing each year to contribute to an improved customer experience to the services they provide. Now, probably at the moment that sits a bit in business plans, of which I do look through 25 of the branches' business plans, but this will at least pull up those significant actions each year so we can get a better understanding, particularly around the learnings and if there's any duplications or if different areas are trying to solve the same problems. I think that just improves that level of efficiency. Just as, I suppose, a quick part of the process, we did determine to do this ourselves, which is a valid choice. You can go and get an external consultant, or you can obviously do the majority of the work ourselves. We decided to do that. Importantly, a key aim was to have this authentic, meaningful, evidence-based strategy. Not to say that others couldn't come and help us with that, but we really did want to get to the people who really live and breathe this each day. We did still want to do that with accessing all the data and information we have, which is, as a mature service organisation, we do have a lot of that, and that is independent research that we have. We did want to understand what gaps we have in that data, and we did that piece of work, and how we absolutely do involve the community in the input, which we did for this, but also the staff. So as I'm sure some of the new councillors and particularly the returning councillors know, that one of the things about Logan that council that I certainly have enjoyed over the period of time is just the level of goodwill, the commitment of the staff. That is our greatest asset. They really are out there doing their absolute best. So it's really just about how we tap into that and make it, I suppose, a little bit more clear about how they connect to the ultimate reason that we exist, which is to serve Logan. And finally, to make the point that I am seeking councillors' endorsement to proceed to community consultation. Like I said, we have done a level of that already, so this is really some feedback, commentary, suggestions, input onto what is now a draft document. Councillors will absolutely be included as a part of that process. I appreciate this piece of work, which has been running for a little while now. About last July we actually kicked it off, so we're under administration. We did make a conscious decision to wait for new council. I wanted to do that. I wanted to make sure that everybody was okay with this. This is a 4 to 5 year strategy. I didn't want to get it signed off theoretically by the interim administrator and then no one really was understanding or committed to it, or we didn't think we got the best product by doing that. So we will go and have a process where we invite all councillors how they want to do that interaction with us, and obviously we'll do that with the community, and while staff have seen it, so managers have seen it, we will invite staff again to contribute. So I do have the community engagement program as part of my portfolio, so I'm absolutely an advocate for getting as much feedback and suggestion and ideas as I can get, because I know that that will produce the better product. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. And I note on page 12 of 32, I love this. We work together to know our customers' needs, so we deliver what matters and what makes a difference. We make decisions with empathy and recognise that our community's needs are at the core of every decision we make now and into the future. I think that probably pierces the heart of every councillor here today, and I'm sure many in our organisation aspire to that community first vision as well. I have a question from Councillor Bradley.
Typing something. Please bear with me. On page 18, it states the city vision for Logan is innovative, dynamic city of the future. That does not resonate with me at all. It was certainly the vision of the previous mayor. I'm not sure, this is just my opinion, I'm not sure if that really is our vision at all. We haven't really had a discussion as a council about our vision, but it does not resonate with me at all. That's just my feedback.
Councillor Bradley, I acknowledge what you're saying too. My understanding was that that was part of the corporate plan from 2017 to 2022, and my understanding is that we'll actually be starting to build a new corporate plan with the new cohort of councillors in due course. So I acknowledge that and take that on board.
The other thing, certainly on page 24, the customer service, I mean, effectively that's what we're here for, and I do take on board what you read before, Madam Chair, about the empathy, etc. I really do think that should be a major focus of our council and our customer service. We are here to represent the people of our city, and we should have at the forefront of our mind empathy for them when we're dealing with them on probably very sensitive issues for them, and we should be putting ourselves in their shoes.
I
That's
couldn't agree more. Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Any other councillors have any questions? With your indulgence, I might ask a couple. So, Matthew, today what you're asking is for council's endorsement to effectively go out to community consultation. And I would like to applaud you for waiting until post-administration so that councillors could be back and we could be part of that process. How do you anticipate that councillors could partake in the next round of consultation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we will devise a community engagement plan, and as I said, part of, I suppose, council's role, which I did want to tap into, is obviously where you'll support the awareness of this to the community, and we'll advise you of how they can participate. Obviously, we have a digital platform, and we will still work to where we go and put this as being available, which we have some set processes. We will, within that too, though, just seek your guidance individually as how you want to be consulted yourselves. So whether you have feedback, whether you've written some feedback, or whether you want to see it. So it'll be those dual parts. We'll probably try and do that quite quickly, just so everyone's comfortable then to obviously advocate and put it into your normal networks, etc. I really do feel that it's incredibly considered evidence-based document. That was the level of work certainly I put into it. It was a bit of a passion project, but I'm happy to have that chat to people. But it's a good news story. It really shows what is this next level of progression that this council's moving towards, and what we're trying to do, and ultimately then we'll be held to account how close we get to achieve that when we have some of those measures, etc., around it. So there's a few of those pieces of work coming through at the moment, which I think is quite exciting. So this is just, you know, kind of fits amongst all of that. So if that answers the question, it's twofold. It's, yep, what you have to give us some feedback, and then also where you can help me to make sure it gets out there and people are aware of it.
I think collaboration is king, right? And one other quick question, although it may not be a quick one. You did mention in your presentation that there weren't actions in this strategy, and I wonder if you might speak to that, please.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder. So when we kind of determined that we would go across a slightly larger time frame, some of the strategies which have come before you are just around probably around that 2-3 year moment, 5 years. As we would all know, it's incredibly hard to predict the future. It kind of always was, and it's almost impossible now. So we did determine that the things that will hold the test of time is our strategic direction, the thing we think we need to focus on, and there's 4 of those pillars. Some of those outcomes that we agree that we want to achieve within that, a principle-based approach. So for corporate consistency, what kind of became harder to predict it even after, say, a year to 18 months was how we would do that, the actions. And I suppose a little bit of a comparison is our corporate plan. So that's a 5-year plan where we do those priorities and what we aim to do, and then each year we do an operational plan for the actions. So the idea is that we will draft each year, and we're starting to pull that together, some of the key actions across council that are occurring and where they fit within those 4 pillars. And then as circumstances may change on us, and currently it's a global pandemic that we really probably didn't foresee, we will adjust accordingly. Some of those actions or focus, I suppose, costs around those may adjust to the times that we're in. So it's not that councillors then won't see an action plan. I really do need an endorsed strategy before we go do that piece of work. That will make more sense over year 1, 2, 3 as we keep building on actions. We did start to look at actions in year 3, 4. They really were fluffy around investigate, try, review. It's too far into the future to get that specific stuff. So that was the rationale around that.
Awesome. Thank you. Do I have any other questions from any councillors? Being no further questions, can I have someone to move the motion? Councillor Bradley has moved. The motion is on the board ahead of you. Councillor Lane has seconded the motion. Could I see a show of hands for those who are in support? And that has been unanimously supported. Thank you, Matthew. Do we have any general business for the manager while he's here with us? Anyone? Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say congratulations to Matt and his team. Please pass it on for all the great compliments they got in the email that the acting CEO sent around to us. I know reading that previous report, we could really see how you're striving for excellence, and it's based on evidence. And then the proof is in the pudding when it comes to the feedback from the community. So well done, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Through the chair, and thank you for that, that's kind. So, and to be clear too, those customer compliments come in, we do capture them in the corporate document system. And importantly, they were for all types of roles and people across the organisation. So there were a couple of for my guys, which is lovely, and a customer recently brought in some flowers. So talk about an impact you make on someone when they're prepared to go to the shop and get some flowers and bring them back in. But yeah, it included even some contractors in there in all different areas. So I love to see those types of things too. I know we often, including my role, hear some of the times we don't always get it right. But people sit down to take the time, genuinely do, to write in and say how much we made a difference to what we're trying to do.
Thank you. Councillor Bradley, did you have a question for the manager?
Not for the manager, but for the director.
We'll be getting on to that very soon. Are there any other questions for the manager? And I'd just like to heart Councillor Raven's work. Keep up the great work, and we love to hear those positive stories filtering through. So thank you for sharing them. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. I note that due to social distancing restrictions, not all managers or staff could attend today. But that being said, does anyone have any general business for the Director of Community Services? Councillor Bradley.
Thank you so much. The first committee that we had, I asked about a workshop for, or I was told we would have a workshop on election signs. When is that going to be organised?
Through the chair, I followed up with the manager on that, and there was another request with that same manager on a different matter that you were also interested in as well. That meeting was booked because of annual leave and so forth for not this round of workshops but the following one, and I've actually requested to the manager, given when you actually asked for that, whether there was any way that could be brought forward, so I know that there's a workshop coming up in coming days or in coming weeks, I think, and I've asked whether there's any chance that can be brought up, because I know that it's a hot topic.
As long as it's not forgotten, that's all.
It's definitely on my radar, and it's also on the manager's radar, and the other workshop that was brought up by yourself and Councillor Stemp as well to that manager. So it is on the radar. It is booked for not this round but next round, but I have asked for it to be brought forward if at all possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other questions for the Director? There being no further questions, no items of general business, that completes our agenda for today, and I declare the City Lifestyle Committee meeting of the 22nd of July 2020 concluded at 10:59 a.m. Thank you, everyone.